very good day to you all. A very good day, and thank you so much. Hmm. This is a true life story. When I was about 2 years old, I was a public speaking, rather a spelling bee grand champion. And how that happened sometimes is beyond me. So this is how it happened. At two thereabout, my parents, especially my father, would tell me to spell anything. And as the child that I was, I would spell it. They'll tell me, Precious, spell Nigeria. And I will go, na, na, Nigeria, sharp. Precious, spell temperature. And then I'll go again, temperature. Same thing, spell bread. Bread. Now, that same mentality is the mentality that makes children fantastic public speakers. Children can say anything. Same mentality is the reason why children have fantastic speech abilities. But sometimes when we grow, these things get hindered. And that same mentality is the mentality you need to have for you to be able to be a fan. Public speaking in itself is it's not necessarily something very grandiose as we paint in our mind. I mean, it's a part of public speaking, like standing on this circle and sharing your idea. But public speaking in itself is just a structured conversation. Public speaking in itself is communicating with a purpose. So if you are standing in a class talking to your lecturers, that's public speaking. Talking to a group of friends, public speaking. Now I'm going to ask this very simple question. Have you ever had a situation where you have planned the speech? You have planned what you want to say. You have rehearsed in front of the mirror with your friends, and then you get on stage and you freeze. It has happened. If that has happened to you, just wave. Sharp. It has happened to me too. But to get from where you are currently to where you want to be, picturing yourself speaking at the UN General Assembly, at the valedictorian of your university, steps that can take you from where you are now to where you want to be. And we'll start with the first one, number one. And the very first one is what? You have to do what? Embrace imperfection. Now, this was me in GSS2. Public speaking, debating for my school. And although I was speaking, holding the mic, my mind focused on the fact that my belt had shifted to the left. And whenever I go back to that picture, I keep seeing it that, of a true, my belt shifted to the left. And if you look closely, you see that that belt refused to stay in the center. Right? But as a public speaker, you need to understand that you need to embrace the imperfection. Whether it's imperfection in your speeches, because nobody is a standard of public speaking. I could speak like this, but you could speak in another different pattern. So you have to embrace imperfection. And that's the reason why you need to embrace imperfection. And it is because a master has failed many times than a beginner has even tried. So with the more times you try, with the more times you are imperfect, the better, right? And then the second way, or the second step that can take you from where you are to where you want to be is what? Keep practicing. Now, this is also another very annoying story. That's me on my graduation day, secondary school. Not only was I the head boy, I was also the valedictorian. And somehow, I don't know how I convinced my friend or he convinced me, but both of us decided that the best way to show up for our graduation was shirts, sneakers, and red socks. And somehow, I thought it was cool. I showed up that way. And the most annoying deal was that I was supposed to deliver the valedictory speech. And guess what? I freestyled it. I did not write a single line. Not because I did not have time, but because I felt it was just public speaking. We'll run it. Normal. I got there, and if I was to describe the whole ordeal in 2 words, the 2 words would be never again. So for you to get better at public speaking, for you to improve communication, you need to practice, practice, and practice. You need to write it down. You need to script. You need to read. You need to internalize. Because to get better, you get better with practice. By the way, the video of that valedictory speech is somewhere underneath my Instagram post. I have because of today's speech. So somewhere under Instagram post, that video is there. And now to the third one. The third one is keep pursuing knowledge. Now we're going to wait here. There's a line from an anthem, one of my favorite anthems of the time. The very last line of that anthem says something about knowledge. It captures the essence of how knowledge is the great liberator of the mind. And how for you to be truly free, pursue what? Knowledge. Do you know what that line is? Can we do it together? Yes. For a mind that knows is a mind that's free. It just show you that for you to be able to speak freely, for you to be able to have that confidence you need in public speaking, you have to know. Confidence comes from knowing, right? Wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me why jollof rice is the best invention known to man. Or you wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me why being a last child is the best thing in the world. I would tell you for hours because I know. So for you to speak better, you need to know. If you want to be a better public speaker in fashion, you need to know fashion. If you want to be a better public speaker in your academics, how about you know it, right? For a mind that knows is a mind that's free. And that anthem happens to be the anthem of the first and best university in Nigeria. The anthem of, dare I say, the best university in sub-Saharan Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the University of... Wow. And that takes me to my next point. I know fully well that I'll be TED speech in the University of Ibadan. And about 90% of my audience will be students of the University of Ibadan. And I know that if I put a line from the anthem of the University of Ibadan, get the crowd fired up. Did it do that? Know your audience. Now, a true life story. I was hosting a right? And I got there looking fly. I walked that day and I looked really handsome. And as I was hosting, about 30 minutes in, an old man walked up to me and he said this in Yoruba. He was like, MC, you are doing a nice job. However, we don't understand what you are saying. Can you please speak Yoruba? Now, that was a tricky one. But I'm sort of fluent in Yoruba. And I said, okay. And by some sort of divine miracle, I hosted that wedding reception in Yoruba. And after I was done, I got compliments that I did a good job. And then I thought about it. How about it was a language I never spoke? Because I didn't ask questions and know the audience, I showed up to an event unprepared. So you need to know your audience. If you are speaking to people who are in your age bracket, there's how you would speak to them. Different from how you would speak to investors. Do you want to see a picture from me at the wedding? Do you want to see a picture from me at the wedding? Okay, let's see the next picture. This is not a picture of me at the wedding, by the way. Rather, this is a picture of me in 2016 when I was hosting a primary school end of the year party. Now, the audience in a primary school end of the year party is very different audience I met at that wedding. So you know what? You need to know your audience. Finally, which is the final point we'll talk about today, is don't just speak, connect. When I was an undergraduate of the University of Ibadan, it feels good to say when I was an undergraduate. I mean, if you are serious, you can't relate. But when I was an undergraduate, I had this professor. We all really loved him. He was a very nice man, a lovely man. He was knowledgeable. He had years and years and years of experience. He was well-traveled. He spoke about 4 languages and then about another 4 international languages. So there was Spanish, there was a bit of Portuguese, there was French, there was Swahili. And when he came to our class, he always said this word, la la salama. Now, then I felt la salama meant hello or good day, something like that. That was what I felt it meant. However, another thing he used to do that took our attention was the fact that he had nicknames for all of us. And my own nickname was Big Baby. And I don't know why he gave. I always wonder why Big Baby? But again, he called me Big Baby. And this man, this very lovely lecturer, he died. And me and my classmates went to pay a condolence visit to his house. We got there, and after we had stayed a while, it was time for us to leave. And we're required to give a speech or to just talk to the family. I was the one to do this. Now, in that moment, I could have shared my condolences and would be on our way. But that room that day felt really, it was very sober. And rather than share my condolences, I decided to share a message of hope. And I remembered all the funny stories Professor told us. And I told family these stories. I remember how Professor would take us to archives to eat amala. And I would go. How he introduced me to one of the best combos ever, watermelon and granite. Until this day, I still eat watermelon and granite. And the way you guys are laughing, that same reaction happened in that room. People were laughing and people were smiling. And then it made me understand the power of public speaking and how much influence this has on people. When I was preparing for this speech, I finally found out the meaning of Lala Salama. And Lala Salama was not hello or how are you as I thought. Lala Salama is Swahili, and it means goodbye or good night. So that day, in that room with his family, I told Professor Lala Salama. Whether you are someone who feels timid or someone who feels you are already a great speaker, you need to understand that public speaking goes beyond saying words. It has the power to inspire change, to call people to action, to revolutionize, influence global decisions. From the Martin Luther Kings to the Steve Jobs to the Obamas, or even fictional characters like Prime, public speaking is a universal tool for change, a universal tool for momentum. It causes a shift. So I dare you in this room, I dare everyone in this room, when next that place, voice heard, speak up. Let people hear you. Let people resound with you. Make sure your voice is heard. Coming here today, my topic was simple. Everyone should be a public speaker. But now, I have come to the realization that not only should everyone be a public speaker, we all already are public speakers. My name is Precious Ibeh, and it is spelled Precious Ibeh. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.